Welcome to the Moon Magic Tarot channel. This is a set of readings with your weekly guidance from Spirit, from your Spirit team. So we are going to be drawing 3 cards to guide you in. There is reading number 1 already. I'm seeing reading number 2 and reading number 3. And we're also going to draw a charm and a rune as well to help with that guidance. And for those of you guys who are following the weekly lunar updates, I've actually posted them in a separate video, and I will put a link to that at the very end. I'll put it in the information box and in the comments, because I'm doing the weekly lunar updates with almost like a little bit of a kind of a manifest with the moon tutorial now as well. So if you want to look at the weekly updates, the coming updates, they are in a separate video, and I'll make sure the link is in the information box and the comments. And I will be announcing the winners of our monthly prize draw as well today. But let me move straight into the guidance for the week. Reading number 1, wow. Your card is prayer, hope. Gosh, the energy of this is something else. Wow. So that is the guidance card for reading 1. Reading number 2, we have the card of West, Purge. It's like the West entrance or the West gateway of the medicine wheel. Then we have reading number 3, Buried in Earth, Transference. Okay, wow, really interesting cards for this week, Super Souls. And of course we have a massive full moon on Wednesday. So let's now draw a rune and a charm as well to help guide you into the readings this week from your Spirit team. Reading number 1, you have the rune of Openings. Reading number 2, you have the rune of Wholeness. Reading number 3, you have the rune of Hagalas. This is the rune actually of disruption. I always think disruption with purpose. I always feel this rune. Okay, let's have a look at your charms. Reading number 1. You have the butterfly. Beautiful, beautiful energy. Oops. Reading number 2. You have the tree of life. Oh, these are so powerful today. There's such an energy coming off them. Reading number 3. You have the cross. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, Super Souls, I'm going to leave you to sit with your intuition. You can pause the video if you need a little bit longer, but I'll leave the video running just for a few moments. You may find yourself drawn to more than one. I will put the timestamps in the information box below, and as already said, I'll put a link to the lunar updates for the coming week for those of you that want to tune in with those as well. And they're now coming with a little extra tutorial connected to manifesting with the moon. So Super Souls, I will leave you to sit with your intuition and be guided in. Welcome to reading number 1. Thank you so much for joining me. Now we're going to draw some oracle cards, and we are going to dive straight into some tarot as well. That one was wanting to leap out too, wasn't it? Okay, so we are starting with the card of prayer, of hope. The rune of openings, which is very much symbolizing. I mean, it does feel like an opening. We need to look at the cards as well, but it literally feels like something is opening up for you this week. So reading number 1, it's an incredibly powerful week with a super full moon in Capricorn, and the dynamics are particularly powerful. It's one of the reasons I put the lunar updates in a separate video, so I could really talk about that in a bit more detail. Now, you have the butterfly of transformation too. So in the immediacy of just this little cluster alone, it feels like this week something is opening up for you. And it does feel like a kind of a lightness after darkness, light after dark. The rune of openings is clarity of direction. Look at this. We have the card flying, beautiful energy, coming to life and rescue. Ah, this is very interesting. Something is opening up here for you this week. I feel like you're actually finally shedding, and forgive the finally, but I think it is relevant. I feel, reading number 1, your spirit team in your guidance for this week, right here and right now, are saying to you, this is a week of transformation. This is a week where you shed and let go of some almost like a pattern, or a pattern is not quite right. I must try and get my words right for you. But basically, I think you are somebody who easily rescues people. You easily step up and look after others. Somebody has a problem, you'll be the first to fix them. And wonderful, reading number 1 people, you know, that's beautiful and that's wonderful, but I think it's come at a cost. Actually, that's what we're really seeing here. And it's like this week there is a turning over, a letting go, a releasing. And that's why I said pattern. It's not quite right, but there's, even if somebody presses your buttons or something happens that pulls you into something, you don't do it anymore. It's like something's come to some kind of a completion whereby your role in something is now clearer. You don't feel drawn in, you don't feel pulled into it. You don't have to do this anymore. I'm loving that we have butterflies. We've got the coming to life has a beautiful little butterfly here, and we have the butterfly here, the transformation. And of course, I think it's so relevant. I mean, even our beautiful flying horse here has the wings of a butterfly. You know, there's something here about, and with the flying horse looking backwards, looking back, you're letting go. And the same here, the balloon with the telescope here, and this little island. You're looking backwards, you're letting go, you don't need to do that anymore. You can remain impartial. You know, even if there is drama going on around you, it's like you can send light, you can send love, but your position is clear. That's the energy of what's happening in your world this week. That's the guidance your spirit team are saying to you. You don't have to be drawn in. You don't have to buy into anything. You can hold your own pathway, not buy into the drama. Don't have to be dragged into anybody else's crisis. Now you have the Ace of Cups. You have the card of the Empress. Oh wow, you have the Empress and the Emperor. Ooh, reading number 1. Reading number 1, I'm feeling really excited. I mean, I'm very excited for you, truly excited for you. Gosh, you really are letting something go. Right, this is coming in all sorts of directions, but look at this. We have the Empress, the Emperor, we have the Ace of Cups and the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups is just a space for me of, again, you have a really real perspective. I feel like I'll talk about these two cards in just a minute, the Emperor and the Empress. But I actually feel like you guys, your spirit team, they're really validating you here. I mean, there's a connection to relationship here that I want to tune in with. But what I do want to say is your team are validating that you've reached some final stage of transformation. You know, if we think about the life of a butterfly starts as an egg, it turns into a caterpillar, it becomes a chrysalis, and then it hatches into a butterfly. So there's a final stage of transformation that you've achieved in some area of your world. And it's an area of your world that allows you to remain on track, irrespective of the crises of others. Again, the Emperor and Empress energy, complete and utter balance here between mind and emotions. You can steer the ship, you can feel what's going on, but you're not so logical that you can't experience what's being felt. At the same time, you're not so emotional that you lose sight of your ability to steer the ship. So you're in an amazing position this week of profound leadership in a very balanced and fair way. You're really, really able to hold your own, be yourself. You can hold hope, and even with people collapsing into drama around you. And I do think there is a propensity for this week as well, astrologically, but that's by the by. You might be tuning in to this reading at a completely different time. You know, all of these readings can be accessed at any time. You just trust your intuition. I really believe we find the right reading at the right time. But right here, right now, reading number 1. A gateway is opening for you, a pathway, a direction, a clarity of a course of action. You'll know exactly what to do from a balanced heart and a balanced mind. You don't need to rescue people. You are above it and you know it. You can contemplate, you can review, you can evaluate. You can see it clearly for what it is. It's like you are no longer in a space of illusion, okay? You're no longer viewing things through either rose-coloured glasses or through the perceptions of either, you know, too much emotionality overriding the clarity of your mind and your perception. This is really, actually, I want to say, reading number 1, at a level of consciousness, this is a significant level of consciousness to achieve. You know, when we think of our human lifetime, every human life as a journey of the soul's evolution, you've achieved something really quite amazing here, because we're living in a very emotionally reactive world. There's huge problems going on in power dynamics, and we're in this in-between space of massive transition. And part of that journey is to manage to navigate in a balanced way. There's so much emotional reactivity or dogmatic power, you know, of the mind without considering how people feel. So there's something very powerful about you reaching this point of evolution. And I feel like your team are really proud of you, because this takes work at a level of soul evolution. So big respect to you, reading number 1. I also wish to say, and this is like an aside, but for any of you who are at the beginning of a new phase of relationship, we have Empress and Emperor, whether you are calling in a soulmate or you are in a new phase of an existing relationship, or, you know, wherever you are in love, we have the Ace of Cups, whatever that, if you are at a new beginning point in terms of love, you are entering this without looking through rose-coloured glasses, which means you are building something of significance and longevity. You know, whatever relationship comes into your world in terms of a new beginning, whether it's an existing relationship upping its game after a period of upheaval, or a brand new relationship, this is a relationship that sits on an equal footing with a really high level of consciousness. No rose-coloured glasses. This is significant evaluation. I'm loving your energy this week, reading number 1. Just loving it. It's like There's always a higher vibration and a lower vibration to everything. You know, astrologically, when we look at stuff, there's always a higher vibration and a lower vibration. You know, I'm talking about this now more in the weekly lunar updates, where there's a little bit of a tutorial as well. And we have a choice in that, you know, and we need a level of awareness to embrace that choice, and you're there. So really huge respect. So we're going to ask for a little bit more information for you for the coming week. We're going to be asking your spirit team if they can give you any further advice. We'll draw from another tarot. Further advice for reading number 1 from your team for the week ahead, for your weekly guidance. Okay, so we have the 6 of discs, the 9 of swords. Let me show these to you as they come out. It's always nice to have a really good look at them. So 6 of discs, 9 of swords. We have the sun. We have the 8 of swords, the 9, the hermit, 2 9s here coming through. And we have 3 9s, gosh, the 9 of discs. Okay, this is lovely. So what I wish to say to you, I'm just going to, bear with me, I'm going to pause and rearrange the cards so you can see them all. There we go, Super Souls. You can't see absolutely everything, but we've got a much better view, I think, now in camera. So the 6 of discs, I'm just going to say whatever is going on around you, your team are suggesting take a very laid-back approach. There may be quite a lot of drama going on around you. 9 of swords, all sorts of different perspectives, all sorts of people throwing daggers around, I feel. You know, a lot of different opinions, different thoughts. I just feel there could be a lot of stuff being thrown up around you. Take a laid-back approach and just observe. That's what your spirit team are saying. You have the ability to observe impartially, yeah, no rose-coloured glasses. So with the stuff that is going on around you, from other people around you or circumstances, just be an observer, don't get involved, and hold your light. Hold prayer, hold hope for everyone and everybody in any situations that there are. Your direction is actually clear, because your direction is about rising above, and the purpose within the scenarios that are taking place around you, I think at a karmic level for you, and there is quite a pivotal karmic element this week taking place. That karmic perspective is that you are leaving behind the bit of you that would normally get hooked in, that would worry constantly about whether you should be doing something, whether it's your role to rescue, whether you should step in, take an active part, whether you can help, whether you can move something forwards. Absolutely not. Almost on a karmic level, your spirit team is saying your role in this current stuff that may be going on around you is to hold the light, take a steady, relaxed, laid-back pace to your own circumstances. You can be really kind of tactful and thoughtful about this. You don't have to get involved, and part of that karmic positioning is you're probably somebody who can find a creative solution here, but part of the solution is to not be involved and to remain impartial. Okay, so whatever takes place around you this week, that's what your spirit team is saying. Your role in this is to hold hope and hold prayer and hold that potential for the higher vision, hold that light, rather than being an active participant who's drawn in to rescue. And in shifting that pattern, you may need to stand back in your observation, but you'll bring more good that way. You know, sometimes it is better that we are an impartial observer holding hope and light rather than someone who takes an active role. And it's really interesting because the 9 of discs here, you know, she's very, I love this card. Oops, shifting all our cards around. I love this card. I always feel like she's a very a very satisfied gardener. You know, she's harvesting. She's able to. I mean, these look like honeysuckles in the foreground here. You know, honeysuckles are beautiful. They almost carry an essence and a scent of peace. She's able to feel good about her position, irrespective of what is going on around her, because she knows that she herself has done the work. She doesn't have to be pulled in. She can harvest the rewards of peace. I always feel this, for me, the Nine of Discs, it's what I call a really high vibrational sense of self-satisfaction. The lower vibration of self-satisfaction is where we feel good about ourselves in an ego-y kind of way, whether we've deserved it or not. In a higher vibrational way, we quietly feel good about ourselves and our achievements and what we have done and whether we've stood back from something. And it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks, because we know that we've done the right thing. We've held integrity, we've held peace. And not being drawn in this week is in part, I do think some stuff may go on around you in the periphery of your world. And that is what your team is saying to you this week. Something, maybe a lot of stuff may be going on around you. Your role is to hold that light, and you will know that you hold the position of integrity by not being drawn in, taking sides. It's really, yeah, definitely not taking sides. You remain impartial. And just tuning in with that position of relationship for anyone who is at the beginning of a new stage of relationship. Again, your ability to remain balanced, not to look at anything through one side or the other. There's a real impartiality around you this week. And if you're at the start of a new phase of relationship, I'm going to say that if you are at the beginning of a new relationship or a new phase, you will come at this various situations that are going on around you in a very united way, and also in a very realistic way. It feels very mutually supportive, but there's real balance for you. This really is, I mean, this space of openings, transformation openings, feels fabulous. And I think this prayer really holds it up. It's so transformative. It's as if you align yourself with the higher purpose of the universe, and you're able to bring that light into the realms of your human life this week. Reading number 1, this really is the stuff of, you know, magically higher levels of consciousness integrated into real life. And I am absolutely blown away by how amazing you guys are. And your spirit team are totally proud of you, amazed by you, acknowledging your position and saying, you know, whatever is going on, whatever challenges, conflicts there are around you, they're not yours to carry, and you know it. And it is not your role to rescue, intervene, simply to hold that position of integrity and let the universe then actively work with you and with all of those involved to find a suitable resolution and a way forwards. Super Souls, reading number 1, this is, I think, your weekly guidance from your spirit team for the coming week. Do check out the weekly, I'm now posting them separately, the lunar update for the week ahead. I'll be posting those every single Friday, so you've got a weekend to digest the coming week as well. And for those of you who are in my subscriber email list for my prize draw, my monthly prize draw, I'm announcing the winners after these readings. So if you're in that subscriber email list, do check it out. You might have won a free private reading or a pack of oracle cards. And if you are new to my channel, thank you so much for coming in and joining me for this, for my weekly guidance from Spirit. Do check out the lunar updates, and also I post a lot of spontaneous readings. I'm building a timeless readings playlist where I answer lots of very specific questions in the readings, so do check those out. And if you want to get notification of anything that I post as soon as I do, these are posted, the weekly guidance from Spirit I post every Sunday. lunar updates every Friday, as well as additional spontaneous readings. So if you subscribe and press the little bell icon, you should get notification as soon as I post anything. And the link to my subscriber email list, if you want to be in my monthly prize draw, is in the information box and the comments as well. So reading number 1, wow, big respect, because yeah, this is the true life of a spiritual warrior, where you really walk that pathway in real terms, and it has an influence on the circumstances around you in the most powerfully positive way. Super souls, big respect, tons and tons of love, and I look forward to seeing you in some of the other readings and in the lunar updates as well. Tons of love to you all, and thank you so much for joining me. Welcome, Super Souls, to reading number 2. You have been drawn to the Rune of Wholeness, the card of the West, Purge, and the Tree of Life. A pretty powerful collaboration, I've got to say. So this is your weekly guidance from your spirit team. So this is what's going to be happening, what guidance can you be given, what help and assistance can you be given for the coming week. Now we're going to draw straight away from some oracle cards and also a tarot pack as well. Let's see what we are shown from reading number 2's spirit team. What would they like reading number 2 to be aware of in the coming week, and what guidance is being given? Okay, let's have a look at your oracle cards first. This is really interesting. Coming to life. This showed up in reading number 1 as well, interestingly enough. Okay. We then have Deep Freeze, 26, and then we have Compass. This is very interesting. I'm going to have a little look at your initial tarot cards as well. Okay, so we have King of Cups. This is really interesting, because this King of Cups is really looking a little bit disgruntled. Okay, that's what I want to say. Disgruntled. And then we have the Devil. This is very interesting. Very interesting. Page of Pentacles. And 10 of Swords. Okay. Right. Okay. Reading number 2. This is a very interesting reading. Now, the Rune of Wholeness is a rune that says, in many ways, there's only one way to go, the path you must follow. And really, in a way, there's a pathway of integrity to be connected here, that there's a very specific direction, a pathway that is needed here. Interestingly enough, and it is a pathway that has quite a significant impact on the longevity of the future, the solidness of the future. Okay, it's like, I sort of want to say a turning point. It doesn't feel exactly like a turning point. That's not the right energy here. The card of West, the west door of the medicine wheel, is the door where we face ourselves. It's like the door of, I always think, revolving mirrors. You know, like in those really old fairground kind of things that this takes me back to kind of my childhood, rather than perhaps some of the modern day kind of really amazing kind of just amazing kind of rides that you get. In my childhood, it was a really big deal. Once a year, the fair would come to the village. I was born in London, but not that you need to know all this information, but we moved to the country when I was quite young, and in a very small village, and it was the highlight of the year for us as kids when the fair came to the village for just a few days. But the rides, of course, in comparison to today, were very, I guess you'd see them as antique. And there would always be this kind of vehicle that you climbed up these steps at one end and you walked through, and it was full of mirrors. And the mirrors would, like, in principle, distort you. But actually, in a way, it was like looking at lots of different facets of yourself. It was really, when we think about the symbolism of that. And the West doorway is a bit like that, I think. It's the doorway of mirrors. We look at something. I feel like your spirit team here are saying to you, look, there's something you need to be aware of. And I would venture to say, not necessarily push forwards with it. Okay, something actually needs to come to a completion. Okay, now I feel like basically something's going on that is sort of, excuse my language, but sort of pissing you off a bit here. You're kind of emotionally feeling a bit miffed about it. It's not okay. You know, from an emotional perspective, it's like it's an irritant. It's, you know, it's eating away at you. Interestingly enough, I feel like interestingly enough, the purpose of it in a karmic way is actually to free you from something. Okay, it's to free you from something, that there's a letting go of something here. I feel like something is going to come to a head. That's really what this reading, I think, is saying. And your spirit team is saying to you, look at where you are in this, that mirror, that hall of mirrors, that fairground. Look at this from all the different perspectives, all the disgruntledness, all the different parts to play. I almost feel like there's a bit of a power play going on in some way, shape or form. But you don't have to be bound by the power play. You could choose to step away. You could choose the higher ground. You know, coming to life is really interesting because she holds the light and the transformation is here, the butterfly. And the butterfly is that symbol of transformation. What I feel is that something will come to light. It's going to emerge anyway. Something of importance, the direction of this situation will become very, very clear. You don't have to steer it, and you don't have to steer it on the back of what I would call emotional disgruntledness or a reactiveness to your perspectives of power here, actually, okay? Because in many ways, when we lean into a place of emotional disgruntledness and any form of power play, we can very quickly lose our capacity to see clearly, which means we're then looking through all these mirrors that are all distorted and we don't really know which one is real. Now, the card of Deep Freeze just sort of says this is not a time to try and force something to happen. I think it's going to come to its natural conclusion. That's what I feel. And if there's any underlying agendas, very interesting, this card of the Page of Pentacles here. You know, there's a moral compass to be followed here. Actually, this is what I'm feeling, reading number 2. Your team are saying to you, look, there's something going on around you that could be quite emotionally reactive. It could easily get into some form of game playing, you know, additional agendas being thrown in. There's something about this Page of Pentacles trying to be a bit of a fashion icon. You know, it's like as if there are other undertones trying to get something out of the situation. People who want something from the situation, maybe even financially. But there's a power play. And actually what matters this week, everything this week is about integrity. Everything this week that is going to be a winner, you know, this is the path you must follow. It's about following the moral compass. It's about following integrity, not being drawn into something through feeling either disgruntled or having your buttons pressed. There could be a lot of that going on this week. Having your buttons pressed, not being reactive, holding the higher position, not being drawn or pushed into any form of game playing, whether it's through an emotional undertone or, You know, I just feel there could be some agendas going on here. And it's really important to remove yourself from all agendas. Follow the road of integrity. Something actually needs to be let go of here. You know, 10 of Swords. Something needs to come to its completion and its end. But it needs to come to a completion and its end because of moral integrity rather than because of any other agenda that's going on here. It's like just doing the right thing, okay? Not forcing anything to happen, not trying to force anything forwards. Your spirit team are saying, look, anchor yourself in the higher position. It's really interesting how these cards, Coming to Life and Compass, have so much more vibrancy, aliveness than the sort of the black and whiteness of the other cards. Obviously this is a black and white tarot pack, but even so, it feels like even the cards themselves feel like there's the potential for sort of splitting, projection, power plays. It's a very powerful week astrologically. So there's something here, the West, purge, something needs to be let go of so that it can come to its completion, and a clarity of integrity around the actions that are followed through. There is actually really, if you're walking the pathway of the spiritual warrior, there's only one way to go, and it's the higher road here. Not being drawn into power play, just recognizing something here needs to come to its rightful end. If something's not right, consider how it can be closed down and shut down and completed in a way that holds the higher ground and doesn't create or evoke any drama. That's the kind of messages that are coming through here, reading number 2. And your spirit team are really holding you and holding the light for you in that pathway. You think of an owl. An owl is, the wisdom of the owl comes because they can see clearly. Even in the dark, they can see clearly. Even in the darkness, they can see accurately what's taking place. They don't need to power into something for the wrong reasons. They see only what is important and act only on what is important. You know, so because there is some definite disgruntledness going on here. And somebody thinking, maybe there could be, maybe I could achieve, like game playing, I could achieve something through this, or I could manipulate that person into thinking this, or I could, if I say this, that person might do that. There's some stuff going on around you. And it really does need to come to an end. Your spirit team is saying, look, this is not a time to try and engage with this or force it forwards in any way, shape or form. Let's ask for some more advice from your spirit team, reading number 2 for the coming week. Guidance, support, help for reading number 2. Let's have a look and see what we are shown. Okay, we have the Chariot. In fact, actually, I did this in reading number 1. I realized afterwards I needed to move the cards down before I lay everything out to try and still keep as much visible here. We have the card of the Chariot. We have the 2 of Discs. We have the 9 of Swords. We have the Princess of Cups. We have the 9 of Cups. We have the 7 of Swords. And then we have the card of Judgment. Okay, let's straighten these out a little bit. They're a little bit higgledy-piggledy, aren't they? Okay. I'm going to place the Judgment right here, bang in the middle here. Okay. So, whatever's going on around you, it feels like there's quite a fast pace to it. Okay. And there's more than one action to take, and there's more than one. Do you know what I really want to feel here. I feel like your spirit team are saying, look, this could create a division, but it doesn't have to. That's what they're really saying to you here. You know, we always have a choice. Do we fuel something? And to be fair, I just need to say, you know, when buttons are pressed or it reactivates something, let's say a historical wound is reactivated, reading number 2, and that truly that happens to us all, you know, it's part of our soul's evolution. It really, really does. You know, something happened to literally to me in the week. I'm not going to dive into personal details because the reading is not about me, it's about you. But as an example, I can say to you something happened earlier in the week to me where my buttons were pressed. I could really see something had been activated. And I really needed to not dive into the emotionality of that, because the emotionality belonged in the past. The purpose of it was to help me to be able to navigate with greater clarity and to look at those similarities, not to sort of hold on, not to use the emotions of the past to fuel the current. This could be quite multi-layered for you. So I think buttons could be pressed, and it's very important to recognize if there are emotional buttons being, if emotional stuff is being played out, because there's definitely some disgruntledness going on here. It gets a bit sulky, you know, in a funny way, whoever that is. And that can fuel, remember, if we have almost like a wounded child, it brings out the devil in us, and it can fuel that need for revenge, that need for, you know, I want a payback, I want revenge, I want something to happen. But we don't have to buy into that. We're not obliged to. We have a choice. So there's quite a lot activated for you, I feel, this week. And your team are saying to you, look, you do actually have a choice, and we are supporting you in seeing it with clarity. You can let go and purge, let go of that hall of mirrors, and just hold the kind of the truth of the matter through integrity, moral compass here, not working on the basis of need. Because there's a lot of daggers being thrown around here. There's potentially a lot of gossip, I feel, almost gossip and drama taking place. You know, that could activate things emotionally. Very interesting, the 9 of Cups. Again, hold the higher vision, hold the love. That's what we're being shown here. Be guided by love, not by ego or any difficulties, that any wounds that are opened up. Be guided purely by the purest essence of love. That's your moral compass. 7 of Swords. You know, you don't have to react. You have a choice. You really, really do. Think about how to navigate with tact and diplomacy. That's what I want to say. Because really, I mean, the Judgment is really interesting. I think the outcome of this card is very fascinating in this reading. 10 of Swords, the situation actually does need to just come to a completion, that it needs to come to a completion. The Judgment card, I think, is really interesting because it's sort of activating your choice in this. You know, you can, and this is true for all of us, isn't it? You know, we can hold the higher vision of love, you know, here, or we can, you know, let other agendas drive us. You know, we can, but actually it's like the Judgment could go, in a way, we have a role in creating the outcome here. You know, the outcome here could be a really positive completion to something, where something is laid to rest. You know, it doesn't have to be a crisis, and you actually have a choice. The Judgment for me is saying you have a choice in this. You can view this situation through almost the eyes of innocence, of love, of integrity, or the eyes of almost like a wounded child here, or the parts that wounded children are playing in this role. There's something challenging going on in your world or around you. Reading number 2, your spirit team is saying you have a choice in this as to how you navigate this, and your part to play in this you know, can be one that holds integrity. Super souls, I'm actually going to draw from one more pack here for you, just to sort of see what else we're shown, perhaps in terms of outcome, really. May we ask for reading number 2 for their weekly guidance from the team. There's something better. May we ask for guidance here. Okay. Great. Very, very clear. So whatever element of challenge, conflict is going on around you, whatever that situation is in the uniqueness of your world, your team are very clear. There is a much better way of approaching this. There's a much better solution. There's a much better answer. The situation will genuinely improve. You don't have to fuel it. Again, hold that higher ground and the moral compass. And in the near future, I think I want to say the right outcome will emerge, it will happen, it will take place, it will become very, very clear. But right here, right now, your guidance for this week, and I think we see that in the Tree of Life, yeah, the outcome, you know, this is a situation that could be influenced almost for better or worse, and actually there is something way better than engaging in the current scenario. And it will massively improve in the near future. I think there is genuinely a completion of something to be had. This can be laid to rest, put down in a really, really good way that creates a new beginning, or it can feel like it's laying to rest with conflict unresolved. I sort of feel there's a choice in this. It's really, really interesting. Again, do you look, you know, do you move through the Hall of Mirrors, rise above with the vision of the owl, and take that higher ground, or do you get stuck in the Hall of Mirrors and look at it from every different angle, none of which are really real? You know, they're all just slightly distorted. There's a very interesting, complex circumstance going on around you, and it feels quite fast-paced, quite fast-moving, which again, it's very easy to get swept along. But I think the guidance from your spirit team is clear this week. Wonderful reading number 2. Again, this is the stuff of evolution at a level of soul and at a level of consciousness. I mean, this is the real dynamic stuff of the era in which we are living, where we're transitioning from a humanity that operates on the basis of, gosh, reaction and power struggles, versus moving forwards to a place where we start to hold that higher perspective, not get drawn into things, and become a much more conscious humanity. This is really the stuff of soul evolution, and we always have that choice. So wow, reading number 2, wow. You guys are, you know, doing that level of soul work, and you know, the choices are phenomenal actually, in terms of the impact, both immediately in your world and for the global raising of consciousness for humanity. Is awesome. So super souls, this is your weekly guidance for the coming week. Guys, if you're interested in the coming week and the energetics, don't forget to check out the lunar updates. I'm now posting those every Friday, so there's time to digest them over the weekend and look ahead at the coming week, the dynamics for the coming week. I post these readings every Sunday, so if you would like to get a notification of them, if you subscribe and press the little bell icon, they should come into your stream. If you are on my subscriber email list for my monthly prize draw, I'm announcing the winners today after these readings, so do check them out. You could have won a private reading or a pack of oracle cards. So check out the winners. And super souls, if you're new to my channel and you want to be in my monthly prize draw, I have a subscriber email list. A colleague draws the names out of the hat for me every month. I'll put the link in the information box and the comments for phone users, and I'll put the link to the lunar update as well. I'm building a timeless readings playlist, so put suggestions into the comments as well. I can't reply to all of you, but I do pick up your suggestions. I put them on my list. I am doing lots of spontaneous readings and building a playlist of timeless readings, so if you ever have a wobble, you can just tune in. You know, is it yes or is it no? What does my higher self suggest about this situation now? How will this pan out? You know, there's, you know, all sorts of stuff, soulmate readings, all kinds of stuff in that timeless readings playlist. I'm building it all the time, so it will be ongoing. And yeah, obviously, if you want to get notification as soon as any of those readings post, you know, just subscribe and press that bell icon. Reading number 2. I'm waffling away. My apologies, but I'm just blown away by the level of soul work that's taking place, you know, right here and right now in this incredible transition into the dawning of a new age. Guys, you have my greatest respect, my greatest admiration, and absolutely my love and regard. Tons of love. Welcome, reading number 3. You have the card Buried in Earth, Transference. You have the symbol of the cross, and you have Hagalaz, the rune of disruption. I always think for me Hagalaz is like Uranus, the energy of Uranus, astrologically the great awakener. So something is often with Hagalaz about to change or needing to change, or there's a need to break free from something. Very interesting here, this reading. I'll say a little bit more about going to earth is what I'm going to call it. Buried in earth, going to earth. There's something very profound about the transformation element of that kind of ceremony. So let's first of all draw from some oracle cards and a tarot pack and see what we are shown for your weekly guidance from Spirit for reading number 3. And we'll draw from a tarot pack too. Okay, let's have a little look. Okay, you have first of all the card of Strength. You have the card of Intention, and you have the card of Protecting Treasure. Okay. These are very interesting. I have a real sense of you requiring some form of perseverance. Okay. Something is actually happening in the background. There is an awakening, there's a releasing and a rebirth. There's a profound healing taking place around you. Your spirit team are really, literally really saying to you, you are protected, you are nurtured, you are safe. Even though there is upheaval going on around you, you are actually safe, as are your dreams. Gosh, interesting coming through. So let's have a look at our tarot cards. You have the 2 of Pentacles. You have the Hermit. You have the Page of Swords. And you have the Ace of Cups. Okay. This is very, very interesting. Reading number 3. Your spirit team are really wanting to give you assurances that you're safe. It's like something has pulled you apart in some way. Literally, something tore you apart. Something caused you to feel really, really vulnerable. Now, that will be unique to each and every one of you. It was very, very life-changing. I want to just speak about this card. You know, an earth burial as a ceremony was... It's a very deeply personal ceremony. The earth burial, going to earth. It's like allowing yourself to go into the earth and have the earth absorb. It's like facing your fears It's a very personal ceremony, facing your fears, facing the things that have haunted you or troubled you, and relinquishing them and giving them to the earth. There are many forms of earth burial. You know, this is depicted with somebody with literally being under the ground with a straw, going up for air, while others hold light above ground. You know, there are other earth ceremonies, earth burial ceremonies, where people would take themselves into nature, dig themselves literally a kind of a grave and lie in it with a blanket over them, face their fears, face any animals, wildlife that came in the night or whatever. But it's all about facing our own fears and relinquishing ourselves in trust, almost like to the Earth Mother. So there's something very profound here about releasing something, letting go of facing your fears and letting go of them. And the transference is really interesting. I mean, for those of you who are new to my channel, or who already know me, if you're new to my channel, you won't know. I worked as an accredited counsellor, a psychotherapist, for over 28 years. My work is now more in the spiritual plane, but you know, I mean, really it's very important for me to bridge those two modalities, because actually psychotherapy counselling is all about soul growth. It's about soul evolution. You know, in psychotherapy we talk about, you know, when people experience trauma, we talk about them as being fragmented. You know, in shamanic terms, in spiritual terms, it is as if the soul fragments. You know, often in bereavement, we literally, almost like a part of our soul leaves our body and transitions into sort of that sort of middle ground. You know, when we don't feel complete anymore. It is as though a part of the soul has left the body and departed with the person, and sometimes we have to engage in some form of soul retrieval to bring that part of the soul back, so that we can re-engage in real life again fully, you know, in honor of the person we've lost. You know, that's part of the process of bereavement and the growth and the emergence from that state. You know, so there's a real link between, you know, psychotherapy, counselling and shamanic work. In fact, I've heard some very, very, really good, very experienced shamans talk about shamanic. A shaman would have been almost like the psychotherapist of the tribe. You know, it's like that's the level of work. So counselling, psychotherapy, therapy. Now there's something, I'm waffling away and I apologise if I'm talking too much, but there's something about a huge transition here. The word transference in psychotherapy, transference means that we often sort of project something onto someone else. We see the problem outside of ourselves, okay? Because in an earth burial, a going to earth ceremony, we face our fears. We no longer then live through transference. We don't project onto anybody else because we have full ownership of our own issues. We're whole again, we're complete. We come out of that a completed person. So it's a very profound, ancient tribal ceremony and ritual that brings about the most profound level of personal healing. Now, what I'm seeing here, reading number 3, is that something took place in your world that literally tore you apart, whether that was physically, psychologically, at a level of soul. You just were pulled. It may even be at the moment that you find yourself pulled in more than one direction. Okay? Now, your team are saying you have really been, they're very proud of you. You've been doing your absolute best. You have been struggling to continue, I think, some of you. Actually, what they're saying to you is, look, you are safe and we are protecting you. You can't please everybody all of the time. There is a need to kind of almost retreat. And I think you know that, actually. You know, something has become untenable. This is what the rune of Hagalaz tells us. Sometimes it just means that an earth-shattering experience came along, tore you apart, and quite honestly, you just need to retreat and stop. The hermit. But because that's where you're going to replenish your light. Sometimes the Rune of Hagalaz says that something has been building up for quite a long time. You've been persevering, sticking at something, tolerating something, just something wasn't working, putting up with something, or sweeping it under the carpet. And then it's finally reached a point where it's kind of like, do you know, I can't really do that. It's not working for me and I have to do something. Okay, so there is a point here. Your team are saying to you, look, you've kind of reached that point. You are actually protected. You don't need to worry. There's a lot of anxiety for some of you, I think, around feeling safe. You are safe. You are protected. No one's going to pressure you into anything. I think on some level, your trying to persevere has actually exacerbated the situation unintentionally. I'm not suggesting in any way that, you know, I mean, that's the ethos of our world, isn't it? Of Western culture is we're goal driven, we constantly strive, and we often put on a brave face, and that means that people around us don't know that we're struggling. And then when we collapse, you know, and we don't get the response we need, because I am seeing that maybe there's not always the most, you haven't necessarily been getting the response you need or desire. You know, in a way, part of that is because you've been having that brave face on all the time, not showing what was going on underneath the surface. You know, you're safe, you're protected. A period of aloneness is needed, and I would say a period of stillness. Let your guides take care above ground of things. Literally hand it over, not to other people, but to your guides and to your spirit team and to those that walk with you. Okay, that's what we're being shown here. Just allow something to get still. Step away from the drama. Page of Swords for me very often. I mean, sometimes it indicates that something is needing to be learned and to be seen here. Sometimes it can be a bit gossipy, dramery, but I feel in this reading, this is actually saying, look, there is something really important to learn here, but you're not going to see it unless you get still. Okay, so take time out, get really, really still. And in getting still, spend some time thinking about what you actually want. Not what anybody else wants, not anybody else's agendas, but what is right for you. Just have a real think about it. That's what your team are saying this week. You're safe. Take some time out. You know, and even if that's just time out in a busy world, you know, you just choose not to go out in the evenings if you've got a busy, hectic life, or you choose not to, you know, engage in, you know, you come home and you watch stuff full on dramas, and, you know, this is about stillness and space, because your vitality will return. You know, there's something that needs to be returned to you to fill. It's like your cup needs filling up. That's what I'm seeing here, Ace of Cups. Literally, your cup needs to be refilled. Interestingly enough, the person who needs to refill it, I think, is you. Okay. Think about what is actually right for you without any pressure to do or to achieve anything. That there's something about rehatching some new intentions and some new wishes, but you can't rehatch them unless you face something that is causing you a problem without any pressure and replenish, so that you can then think about where you go from here. It's a very profound energy of healing around this reading number 3. So I'm going to draw some more cards. We're asking your spirit team for additional guidance for reading number 3, additional information around what's going on, what they should do, what the outcome might be as well. Okay. Now I'm just going to move these down so that we have a little bit of, we're going to at least be able to see as much of the cards as we can as we put these next ones out. 10 of Discs. Lovely. Family, home. 3 of Swords. Let me show these to you as we bring them out. So we have 10 of Discs, 3 of Swords. Oh, look at that. Curled up. 6 of Discs. 10 of Swords. I think this is really interesting. 2 of Discs again, but it feels very different here. Very different energy coming through here. This is great. Ace of Discs. And then we have the 2 of Wands. Okay. Whatever has been going on around you, you're going to find the solution. And with a little bit of time out this week, this is your weekly guidance, with a little bit of time out, it will be time to come out of the cave with a clarity of direction. Okay, you can bring yourself back into balance. This such different energy in these two of Pentacles cards. This one, you know, you're being torn apart. You don't know which way to go. This is like something that is balanced. It's sliced down the middle. We're seeing 2 halves of something. There's a clarity, a balance to be found here. Ace of Discs, you know, a new beginning. The clarity of direction will come to you. And the 2 of Wands, there's a creative solution to be had here. And it's a solution, I think, that brings everything back into balance. So your team's advice for you for this week is retreat and stay at home, if you can. This is the card of home. Just if you can, just stay, if you can in any way, or at least make time to retreat. And at least, as I mentioned earlier, you know, if you have a busy full-on working life, then when you come home, don't watch, you know, heightened, exacerbating dramas into the early hours of the morning. This, you know, have a salt bath and meditate and have an early night. You know, there's something about, you know, don't go out on the town. This is really saying retreat here, actually. You know, clarity is going to come, a conflict is going to come to an end, which is lovely. So the solution here will be found. Balance will be restored. The balance will be restored actually simply through rest, taking your time. Something will come to its natural completion. Okay, something that has been troubling you will actually sort itself out. Honestly, a creative solution will be found for you. A new beginning, a new opportunity with a clarity of direction. It's going to emerge. You're literally just in a place where you need to replenish and step back from, I just almost want to say step back from people and sort of immerse yourself in spirit, in meditation, in salt baths, in stuff that's just slow. Literally step back. That's what your team is saying to you. Step back, replenish, take time out. You know, the answers will come to you. But they won't come to you as long as you are fast tracking to the point where you're on that hamster wheel. There's a real need in some way, shape or form to slow it down. Just get re-centered. The direction will come, actually, the direction. And whatever inner turmoil might have been going on for you, whatever tore you apart, you're going to begin to see clearly how to proceed. Super Souls, you know, this is weekly guidance. I'm going to draw some more cards for you. I'm going to use the Angel Answers cards. We're asking if we may have more information or guidance for reading number 3 for the coming week. Perhaps to ask a little bit more information about how this might emerge. What might the answers be? It's up to you. Okay, Right, this is adding a little bit more of a dimension to this. I said you were torn apart by something. You may actually have had a decision that you're not really sure about which way to go. Again, I think the solution, a creative solution, will come to you. There's something better. Okay. Whatever you may have been not letting go of, clinging to, whatever fears may have been binding you, you do have a choice in this. It's very, very interesting. You don't have to remain in some form of cycle. You know, going back to the earth burial in earth, the ceremony, it's never something that's forced on someone. It's a personal choice. It's a commitment to themselves and to their own pathway and their own pathway of wholeness. There's something about committing to yourself, committing to the things that will actually bring you into balance and bring you healing, as opposed to stuff. You know, it's a bit like I was just saying, you know, do you go out and have a thriving, busy social life, or do you have a salt bath? You know, do you engage in therapy, or do you know, fill yourself up with food and alcohol? Or I'm not saying you would, but you know what I mean. We find coping strategies that sometimes mean that we just put on a brave face and we keep going. I'm not suggesting everybody should rush and going to therapy, but there's something about choosing health, and there's something about a shift, saying yes to life, you know, rather than being torn apart, rather than living in constant indecision. Sometimes we just have to make a commitment and say yes to life. You know, it's interesting, I used trauma and also bereavement as two examples actually just earlier, a moment ago. And, you know, I can tell you as a, you know, an accredited therapist, counsellor, psychotherapist of over 28 years, you know, that's that level of trauma where we're torn apart. We feel fragmented. And there is a point at which I think in our healing journey, we do have to choose to say yes to life, actually. You know, it's not easy, but we do need to choose to say yes. It's like if life comes knocking on your door again, you need to say yes. But you also need to make sure that you're replenishing yourself so you don't burn yourself out when you go back into life. You know, there's a balance to be found. I'm not saying that that would be applicable to you all, but in any form of recovery from trauma, there's always a period of time that we have to transition step by step, sort of almost like back into the land of the living, really. And we can only do that step by step. It's a learning curve. Page of Swords. It's a learning curve. And we have a lovely affirmation here from your team, a year from now. Okay, now that for me is really tuning us in with this card, intentions. I feel like some of you almost, let's say, lost your capacity to dream, or lost your intention or your ability. It's not so much, you lost your commitment to yourself. That's what I want to say. Okay, you lost your commitment to yourself. Whatever tore you apart, it's like you relinquished your commitment to yourself. You therefore lost sight of your own dreams, wishes and intentions. And it's time to re-establish them little by little. If you've been experiencing some form of trauma or difficulty and you're gradually moving ahead, remember, transition takes time, and the best way to approach it, we make the commitment, we say yes to life, and then slowly and steadily we learn how to do that. We step out, then we retreat. We step out, then we retreat. And the more that we do this in little bite-sized pieces, the more that we refill our cup, the more we ourselves come back together, and the more that our direction becomes clear and we can begin to believe in life and believe in ourselves. I think something significant actually happened to you guys that really rocked your world. That won't be for all of you. For some of you, there will be a more recent tangle, but in a funny way, if that is the case, and it's perhaps both, I think the recent tangle, in a funny way, at a level of soul evolution, is simply happening in order to create, it's almost like to create an opportunity for you to do what was really needed in response to the previous trauma, which is to get still, slow down, face something, let go of something, trust, faith, re-find trust and faith, and step into that space where you commit to yourself, to your life, and to your dreams, wishes and intentions, and all that is required to make that possible, you know, creative solutions and pathways forward. It's interesting, you know, the Two of Wands in some packs is depicted as someone coming out of a cave. You know, some of the more traditional packs, there's a cave, and Chiron, the wounded healer, is inside the cave, and it's time to come out of the cave. So we can really see that here. There's a shifting. Super Souls, I do just want to check in on something with you. For anyone here who has experienced either a trauma or especially a bereavement, I have a free online library. It's www.azemotionalhealth.com, and I will put the link in the information box. It's always there for anyone that wants to access it. My library is a completely free resource. It will always be completely free. There is a whole section in that library on bereavement. And the page, if you are still feeling quite traumatized, there's some really bite-sized, there's a whole page of bite-sized videos about the entire process of bereavement from start to finish. The library is really my own kind of, almost like my parting gift to my working full-time in that profession and moving into a more spiritual orientation. You know, my calling is very much to bridge that gap. And to create a bridge of knowledge and awareness, so our spiritual pathway is understood in terms of sort of the psychology of the soul, really, and the way in which our emotions you know, play a part in that too. I'll put all the relevant links in the information box for you, but do access it if it's relevant to you. If this reading has resonated, I post readings every single Sunday for weekly guidance from your spirit team. My heart is really with you because I can feel, gosh, I mean, I feel quite emotional. I can feel the depth of this for you. You know, this, for some of you, this really, really, really seriously pulled you apart. So the current situation is causing you perhaps to revisit this or to look at it in a way that's, you know, and your team are saying, we'd like you to say yes to life. There is a better world ahead for you. It may take you a year to gradually, slowly and surely arrive at a place where you really feel fully available to grasp new dreams, wishes and intentions. But a year will vanish pretty quickly, and there is a key to the learning versus the, you know, really safe, gentle, salt bath retreating stuff, that, you know, the nurturing that needs to happen in a very gentle and managed way. Your team are saying to you, you are protected, you are safe, you are loved. So Super Souls, I post these readings every week. I'm about to also announce the winners of my monthly subscriber draw. Every month I give away a free private reading and a pack of oracle cards. Now, it's a subscriber offer, so if you want to get notification of any of my readings, if you subscribe and press the little bell icon, they should come into your stream, including the weekly lunar updates that I'm now posting every Friday, which will show you the lay of the land, what's coming in terms of the incoming kind of dynamics of the lunar energy. So anyone who's interested in manifesting with the moon, that's something to check out. And I have a subscriber email list. I'll put the link in the information box along with all the other links. Once you're on that list, you're on it forever. If you're already on it, check out the announcements in a moment, because you may have won a free private reading or some oracle cards. Thank you, all of you who are subscribing to our beautiful community here. You guys are amazing. And yeah, also I am also constantly posting timeless readings that they're very spontaneous, but they're answering very specific questions like, how will this pan out? Is this person trustworthy? Yes or a no? I will do those ongoing, and I'm putting them all into a playlist. Again, the link is in the information box below. Anytime you have a wobble, those readings are there. And if you have a specific question that you'd like answered in a reading, or in a pick a card reading, put it into the comments, because I will add it to my list and I will at some point get round to it. I am doing them as and when the timing is right, and adding constantly ongoing to that playlist. And again, if you're subscribed, you'll get notification as soon as I post them. Reading number 3, my heart is with you. This is a deep and powerful part of your journey, and I can see it's been really a real biggie. What you're experiencing now is in some way a reflection of something that you're needing to attend to. This cross, which we haven't connected to until now, is holding hope for you, holding light. Your team are really saying we are with you. And indeed, for those of you who have lost someone, I'm really hearing very clearly people who you have lost walk alongside you now. They are part of your team. They hold the light. Even though they live in what we would see as the shadows, they are actually living in the light, and they are literally rooting for you. They are inviting you to say yes to life and to replenish and rebuild and really live in honor of them. Super souls, I am sending you all the love in the world. I'm sending you the biggest hug ever, truly. Tons and tons of love, and I look forward to seeing you for next week's weekly guidance from Spirit, or some of the other readings, or indeed in the lunar updates. Tons of love, beautiful people, just tons of love. Welcome everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I am now going to announce the winners of the June prize draw. Someone will have won a free private reading, and somebody will also have won a first signed limited edition pack of the Art of Manifestation Oracle cards. I love this time of the month when I get to actually show my appreciation in a very direct way to some of you. Thank you for those of you who subscribe, who like, who share. Just thank you for being a part of this amazing YouTube community that we're building. You guys are awesome. And so let me now announce the winners. The winner of the free private reading is Priscilla, and your YouTube name is Priscilla Zacchaeus. Priscilla, if you would like to get in touch with me via my website, that's www.azemotionalhealth.com, we can arrange for me to then do this reading for you. Tons and tons and tons of love and congratulations. And the winner of the Art of Manifestation first signed limited edition pack of Oracle cards is Hanu. Hanu, your YouTube name is Hanu Puola Kanaho. Now, if you would like to get in touch with me via my website, again, you're going to need to send me your postal address, and we can then get those cards shipped out to you wherever you are in the world. Tons and tons of love and congratulations. Super souls, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being a part of this really amazing YouTube community that we're building. You guys are absolutely awesome. This is a monthly prize draw. It is a monthly subscriber offer. The email subscriber list to add yourself to if you want to be in this monthly prize draw, there is a link to this in the information box below and the comments. Super souls, have an amazing week. If you would like to be in the draw, add yourself to the email list. You will, once you're on it, you are on it forever. My colleague draws the names out of the hat every month, and I announce them after one of the Sunday readings. Amazing people. Thank you, and tons of love to you. Have a wonderful week.